today we are talking all about love bombing. Love bombing is a term that's used to describe the very specific stage in a narcissistic relationship, and it can often be hard to suss out the differences between love bombing and the normal excitement that comes at the beginning of a relationship. So in this episode, we are really going to cover the specific differences between love bombing and healthy relationships, and in ways that you're going to easily remember. Sometimes love bombing information comes in kind of an overwhelming dump. So I want to give you some tangible metaphors that will be helpful for you to really hold this information, to digest it, and to use it as you begin dating again so that you don't fall into another narcissistic cycle. And be sure to stay to the end of the episode where we will pull an oracle card that will offer you a specific message that you can use this week to stay committed to yourself in your healing. Welcome to Heartbreak to Wholeness, the podcast helping you heal from the mindfuck of narcissistic relationships and move towards the secure, peaceful woman you want to become. We will explore all of the tools that you need to get through your griefs, to move past those I'll be alone forever fears, and rebuild your confidence so you can move forward in healthy relationships as your full self, never to get sucked into the narcissistic spell again. I am your host, Bre Wolta, relationship clarity coach and EFT certified practitioner. Let's dive in. Okay, so what is love bombing? We hear this term thrown around a lot with the growth of awareness around narcissistic relationships, around the narcissistic cycle. Love bombing really is that very, very first beginning stage of a narcissistic cycle that is based in idealization and desire. It is full of giving desire, receiving desire, and really, I want to just normalize. For most people, we want to be desired. We want to be chosen. We want to be wanted. We want to have attention from somebody who we believe really loves us and wants to be in relationship with us. We have this thirst. And depending on how much work we have done in our trauma healing and our introspection, that thirst might be more intense for some than others. So if you are that thirsty or that hungry for desire, if you're given it in this love bombing sort of overwhelming intensity, it's going to feel so satisfying. It's going to feel like that desire and that attention is going into all of the places that have been just starved for so long. And I say that because I don't want to ever shame anybody for falling into love bombing, to being a victim of love bombing. I myself have been a victim of love bombing, and it felt really good. At that time in my life, I A, didn't know any better, and B, was so lost in being able to give myself my own sense of validation and respect and deservingness that I was seeking. I was seeking it from men specifically. And when I got the love bombing, it was like this flood of desire, and it felt really good. It felt really euphoric. So if you've been in that place, there is no shame. And my intention with this episode is to really just give you the information about what love bombing is, the signs to look out for, so that you can recognize more clearly if you're in something that feels too good to be true. And if you take this information and are also doing your self-work, doing your trauma healing, really getting to understand the patterns underneath that may make you more susceptible to people who are manipulative or who will flood you with that amount of wantingness, then you are in a really, really good place to build a solid foundation where you're not thirsty, you're not starving. And when you're not in that place of desperate need, that intense, overwhelming love bombing will feel really off-putting, and it'll be very clear what someone is trying to do. So that's my hope for you. And as you're working through your healing, this is what I'm doing with my clients in my program Becoming, where we're working together in group and in individual settings to really, really get to the root of what it is that keeps us in those relationship patterns, what it is that's keeping us in that pain. So the definition of love bombing is a relationship based in manipulation that uses intense affection and desire. So like the tagline for love bombing is too much, too soon. It's too much, too overwhelming, too intense, too quick, too soon. So it's a way that the narcissistic person hijacks your system, your neural chemicals, to make you deeply connect to them, to make you deeply bond to them. They're using different tactics to really flood you with all of the dopamine and the oxytocin and all of these different chemicals where it feels really good. And again, if we're thirsty for the desire, it's going to feel even better. So the metaphor that I want to give you is love bombing is like a sugar rush versus the healthy relationship that is the healthy meal. So the sugar rush is that like dumping Skittles in your mouth, the dark chocolate, the whipped cream, just this decadence that you're so hungry that even the sugar, it feels satisfying for a moment. And then you get the stomach ache and all the things that come along with that. But it's the sugar rush, it's the intensity, it's the overwhelmingness versus the healthy meal, which is your balanced plate. You have a little bit of, let's say you have a burger and fries and a salad, and then you have an ice cream cone at the end. You're giving yourself all of these different pieces of things that you need that feel really satisfying, and that is sustainable. A sugar rush is not sustainable. It is fun for a short time. It is euphoric for a short time, but it cannot nourish you. It cannot sustain your body. So when you're in a love bombing experience, some things that you might hear them say are like, I've never felt this way before. I finally found my soulmate. You are my everything. Maybe they're saying, I love you after a couple of weeks. Maybe they're saying, I can't live without you. I'm so obsessed with you. Obsessed is bad. We don't want to be obsessed. We want to be really enjoying the company of somebody, but not obsessed, okay? So hearing those types of bold statements really early on can be an indicator that things are moving too quickly. How can somebody say, I love you, if they don't even know your last name? They don't even know like a baseline history of who you are. They've only experienced you for a couple of weeks and don't know who you are. That's lust, right? I'm in lust with you. I have so much desire for you. I'm so attracted to you. Our chemistry is so intense, but it's not love. So it's this intense desiring and almost feeling consumed by the person. Really, really intense sex can happen in love bombing, like overwhelming amounts of touch and cuddling and wanting to be together and like being this magnetic force that, again, especially if physical touch is your love language, can feel really good. It feels really good. You can be getting texts all day. Like, I can't even work, I'm thinking about you. I'm texting you all day. It's taking me away from other things that I'm trying to do. There's not a balance between my life and this thing that we are doing together. It's all meshing into one, and everything is really centered around the other person. Love bombing can also be an overwhelming amount of gifts. So this is kind of the stereotypical explanation of love bombing. It can look like being gifted, big or small, lots of flowers, lots of cards, even handwritten notes, or as big as extravagant trips. So any of that like too good to be true type of feelings of receiving from the person. It feels novel. It feels like something from a movie. It's dominating all of your time and attention. And they want to know everything about you so that they can become exactly who you want. There can be a lot of conversations in the beginning with this person that they're like, tell me your dream guy. Tell me what you want in a relationship. Which, if you've never heard those types of statements from a person, that can also feel really good that the person wants to know and that they are receptive. It seems like they're listening and they're receptive and they're holding space And really what they're doing in this part is they're gathering a lot of information. They're gathering all of your pain points, your needs, your wants, your desires, so that they can become that thing. And then later on in the narcissistic cycle, they can take that away. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the episode. But they're really gathering information, and they're becoming someone that they're not. So to go back to the unsustainability, love bombing can be sustainable for a short amount of time. They can pretend for a short amount of time. They can adopt into all of your hobbies. They can go to yoga with you. They can go to church with you. They can cook dinner with you. But they can't hold up all of those activities and hobbies long term, because if it's not something that they genuinely like to do and desire, it takes too much energy. So when they are giving you all of this desire, really what they're doing is they're gaining validation and desire back. So they're giving you, look at how great I can make you feel so that I can feel great. It's this transactional experience of, I'm going to do for you so I can get for me. And it's actually a very selfish way to engage with another person, to engage in a relationship. It's not about who you are as a person. To go back to the timeline of things, this is all happening within a couple of weeks or a couple of months within knowing each other. So they don't actually know who you are. They don't actually genuinely love and respect who you are and want to give you these gifts of affirmation or these gifts of love or these proclamations. Those things in and of themselves aren't bad. When we're in relationships for a long period of time, that might be a really appropriate stage of a relationship, to receive a vacation, to receive a proposal, to receive the I love you, to receive the invitation to move in. So those things inherently by themselves are not bad. It's just the condensedness of the time in which they're happening. So when you're in this experience, it can feel, again, too much, too soon. Even though the things feel really good, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like on this sugar high and I need to come down for a minute. I don't feel grounded. I feel very swept up, very like Tasmanian deviled around this person. And we're just in this intense sugar experience together. It's intensity, it's too much too soon. Versus a healthy beginning to a relationship. So what does that look like? Especially if you've only been in love bombing situations, or you've only been in situations where you're chasing unavailable men, let's say, like some sort of unhealthy dynamic. It can feel a little weird to even dream into what a healthy relationship, a healthy dynamic looks like. So I want you, as you're listening to this part of the episode, to just take a couple deep breaths and expand the capacity for what if. So even if you've not experienced this, what would it be like to have a person approach you in these ways? And it can feel a little intense in our nervous system sometimes. So doing your breathing as we are talking through this thing that you haven't experienced yet. If love bombing is your familiar, the healthy relationship is going to feel like you're unfamiliar. And in unfamiliarity, there is inherently change. There's inherently some fear, some anxiety, because we don't really know how to do that. Like, I know how to be love bombed. I know how to be in that intense, chaotic sugar rush. I don't really know how to be in this more sustainable, healthy meal. And it might feel more dull. It might feel less exciting. And I want to really tell you from personal experience that a healthy relationship beginning doesn't have to feel boring. It isn't the roller coaster. It isn't the highs and lows and the ups and the downs and the intensity, but it is a sustainable excitement. So you don't have to think like you're never going to have the passion or the chemistry or the sexual connection with a healthy partner, because you will. It's just not this, it's based in a foundation of depth, of respect, of beingness, whereas the love bombing is there's no foundation. You're just up in the sky. So in a healthy relationship, it's somebody who you are getting to know over weeks and months, slowly. So trust is built slowly. We give a little bit of information about who we are. We don't start with our deepest trauma, right? We give a little bit of information that's, the stakes are lower. If the person can't meet you and be receptive in that, it's not the end of the world. It's just information. So we give a little, and then they give a little, and then we assess. How do I feel? I feel like I can trust this person. Maybe I'll give a little bit more. Instead of coming all out with all of our traumas and all of our desires and all of our needs, we're witnessing the relationship. We're witnessing the dynamic. We're observing the person. Are their actions meeting their words? Is it consistent? Are they consistently showing up as the person that they're saying they are over weeks and months? So giving it time to unravel, giving it time to get to know each other is really such a beautiful, blossoming of a relationship. If you think about just a flower and how it doesn't just open, itself vulnerably. It's a process of unbudding and unfolding and opening. So in these relationships, you feel valued, you feel safe, you feel cared about. The other person is aware of your needs and your emotions, and they're listening. So there's space for the excitement. There's space for the exciting sex, and there's space for the hard conversations. There's space for you to come and talk about something that is really emotionally charged for you, whether that be about the relationship or about your life, and they can hold that. They want to hold that. They want to understand where you are, what you're going through. They care and they deeply respect your experience. It's something that you're really taking care of, that both people are putting time and attention and nurturing into. It's not an overwhelming flood of one person throwing everything at the other and consuming the other. So there's empathy, there's self-awareness, there's compromises, there's conversations around boundaries, there's respecting boundaries, there's an understanding of one person needing something different. There's an understanding that it's normal to have needs in a relationship. It's not all just the fun and excitement, although that is a piece, but there's also this depth. They're curious about you without having a demand over your time. So you maybe hang out alone, and then you maybe go to a restaurant, and then you maybe hang out with groups of people in different environments in different ways. It's not just the two of you in intensity all of the time. They feel like a friend, as well as a romantic partner, as well as somebody that you are attracted to and have the chemistry with. But there's that deep friendship there as well. So when you're entering into new relationships and you're dating for the first time after only having love bombing experiences, or your last experience being love bomby, take your time, go slow. Again, love bombing is too much too soon. The sugar rush, the intensity, the high, the floating. When you go slow, you can have those floating moments, but you're grounded. It's based in a sense of beingness with the other person, not desire and being consumed by the other person. Your healthy meal in this healthy relationship can still be exotic and delicious and passionate, but it's balanced and it's sustainable. It's not just dumping sugar into your veins. It can be really hard to accept or maybe realize that people will lie to you. People will use you in ways that they need for themselves. They will use your emotions to wrap you around their finger and not really care about you as a person. And it's really, really hard as empathetic people, as genuine people, as authentic people, to believe that somebody could enter into a relationship with the sole intention of manipulating for their own gain. But there are those people out there. So the more that you know Again, the better you can equip yourself with that information to be aware of what you're experiencing, being aware of your reality so that you can shift it. If we're not aware of the reality, we're just spun up in it. And I don't know, I have a whole gripe about fairy tales and Disney, and especially if you grew up as a millennial or older. We are shown that this is the way that relationships are. The drama, the chaos, the intensity is what sells. This is what love stories are based on, even in normal movies nowadays. Movies and fairy tales really depict this intensity, this fastness, this entertainment, this drama, because that's what sells. It would take a lot longer for them to show a healthy relationship unfolding in a series or in a movie. So you're fed these images, you are hungry for the desire, and that all sets you up really perfectly to think that it's normal. So nothing is wrong with you. I want to stress that over and over and over again. Nothing is wrong with you if you were a victim of love bombing. But now you get to know better. Okay? We all want to be loved and desired and want to be chosen. So really dive into your trauma work here. Really get to know yourself inside and out so that you can have, again, all of the knowledge, all of the awareness around where you're more susceptible, what cracks you have that need to be filled by you first. We want to have a baseline sense of like blood sugar stabilization. I want to be able to give myself the healthy meal, to give myself the sustenance so that I'm not starving for it. I'm not needing it, right? When I get it, it's like this addition to what is already feeling sustainable in my body. And it's important to know that love bombing is only love bombing if it is the beginning of the other stages of a narcissistic abuse cycle. So love bombing turns into then devaluing, where they've shown you all of this perfect person that they are, and they've given you all of these things, and then they punish you when you start to ask questions or you start to push back a little bit on something that you need, saying, why aren't you grateful for the things that I'm giving you? That you're not living up to their idealized projection of you, and therefore they're cutting you down. It's really using your vulnerabilities against you, using all of that information that you shared with them against you. And then that turns into discarding. So discarding is where we start to feel distanced. We start to feel undesirable. There's no more sex. Perhaps there's silent treatments, or the person ghosting for a couple of days or a weekend, going out of town without telling you. And they're really moving on to the next woman. In a lot of cases, they're moving on to the next exciting novel plaything that they can suck in and seek that validation from. And then sometimes they come back and they try to win you back, try to just either pretend like nothing happened. This is the hoovering stage, where there's really no acknowledgement of what happened in the first 3 stages. They just want to pick up and go back into the love bombing. Or there's really insincere apologies, really, really surface level, like, I'm sorry, that's how you feel. Those types of statements where it's not a real depth conversation. It's not a conversation based in respect. And that's the way that they sneak back in. Because even that little I'm sorry sometimes is enough for us to be like, oh yeah, I made such a big deal out of that thing. So they sneak back in, the love bombing continues, and it's this cycle: love bombing, devaluing, discarding, and hoovering. And if you're in that cycle, it's a red flag. So it's all about gathering data, continuing to do that as you move through the relationship, and assessing and being discerning of how you feel with what is happening. Is it intense? Is it overwhelming? Is your nervous system heightened? Or do you feel the safety? Do you feel the spaciousness? Are you able to still maintain your independence while creating interdependence? You're not all consumed. It's not all happening within the first 3 weeks or 2 months. So being aware of the pace, being aware of the sustainability of what is happening. If you want to dive further into narcissism, there's a really great episode that I did, episode 3, called The Psychology of a Narcissist, with narcissism expert James Marigu. And that goes into much more depth around the stages and the mindset around a narcissistic person. So I would highly recommend that episode for you. And at the end of these episodes, we always pull a card. So I'm going to start shuffling the Oracle deck. If you're not familiar with Oracle cards, as we shuffle, one will pop out or I'll feel an intuitive nudge to stop shuffling. And this will offer you a message. So I'll show you the picture on the card, and then we'll read about what that image, what that message is meant for you today. So what came out is 30,000 feet. If you're not watching the video, it's an image of like a town from above. "30,000 feet reminds you that you are stuck in the weeds. Don your cape and shoot up to the stars for a better look. From up here, you can see the bigger picture and find where you fit. Don't get mired in the muck. Rise above and see the situation from a fresh perspective. 30,000 feet is a vantage point that frees you from getting stuck in the details that block creativity, innovation, and solutions. As you imagine floating high in the sky, what do you notice from here as you expand your view? Seeing the big picture will help you create and solidify your vision, mission, and purpose." So I hope that message offers you a little anchor to hold on to this week as you are moving through your healing, perhaps thinking more about love bombing, thinking more about relationships in general. And if you're looking for a deeper dive into the education and the trauma work around healing from these relationships, you can fill out an interest form for coaching. I would love to be able to chat with you and get to know if my programs would be a good fit for you. So until next time.